Hello everybody, my name is Daulton Nelson and today I'd like to give my thoughts on a game I just beat, that game being Hollow Knight for the PC. Hollow Knight was developed and published by Team Cherry. It is a 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania game. Hollow Knight is a video game that gets a lot of praise around it. I first found out about the game through Video Game Donkey's video, titled The Good Year. I also found out through this review process that Hollow Knight is also a partially backed Kickstarter project that started in Stencil, but then made its way to the Unity video game engine. Being a user of Unity myself, I really appreciate just how impressive this piece of software is. And with the recent announcement of a sequel to this game, playing Hollow Knight has become pretty relevant. To start off the review of Hollow Knight, I'm going to start with its mechanics. The main way to get around Hollow Knight's environments is through 2D platforming, although the most addicting action in the player's tool belt here is the slash the Knight character can do on demand. This action is quick and snappy, and the accompanying sound effects of swings and hits give off a cathartic oral feedback that only makes you want to slash again and again. Oh, and the visual feedback when you hit something is also fantastically done. It's clear that Team Cherry knew how satisfying the slash was. They put these little flavor game objects all throughout the environments of this game. These objects move whenever your character collides with them, and if you slash them, they break. This is genius. It gives the player motivation and reward for continually using the slash, even if there is no action being presented on the screen. And if all this wasn't enough, Team Cherry added a slight knockback to the Knight character whenever something is hit, further adding to that feeling of power. Subjectively, I think this might be my favorite slash in a video game. It feels really nice. Hitting things also nets your character a substance called soul, which is visually stored in the top left of your screen, next to your health. You can use soul to gain back a unit of health at any time during the game, and your character by default can accumulate enough soul to gain 3 units of health. The payoff for this is that you have to sit and wait for a second or two while your knight charges the soul into health, creating a nice risk-reward dynamic in terms of when and where you should be gaining back health. You can also tailor your playstyle with charms in this game. Each of these charms gives the player an extra advantage. These charms can do things like cancel the hit knockback, plot out where you are on the map, increase the amount of soul you get, and emit a smell that damages enemies ever so slightly. Being a Metroidvania, your Knight character does gain more abilities as you progress through your game. Dashes, ranged blasts, double jumps, and ground pounds add variety to your moveset. You most likely won't even realize just how fast you're moving through Hollow Nest's corridors during the latter half of this title. Extensions to your health and soul accumulation limit can also be acquired throughout the game as well. Despite the Metroidvania genre tag that's on this game, don't travel around expecting to find goodies and upgrades every other screen you enter, like in other installments in this genre. Instead, what Hollow Knight does is that it spreads its upgrades around and requires either more of a thought process or a skill challenge that might be more than what is normally required from a game of this type. I like this a lot. Every optional item within Hollow Knight felt like a bonus, and I always felt like the reward I was getting was justified. Now, you might have heard me mention a map earlier. The game's world, Hollow Nest, is an expansive and varied series of rooms and corridors that the player will trek through on their quest. The areas within the world are all very memorable. These sections are where Team Cherry's eye for detail and use of color truly shine. Areas like the Forbidden Crossroads are drab and bleak with their devalued blues. Meanwhile, City of Tears has more saturated blues, with its use of rain and lavish structures. Crystal Peak's gems are gorgeously pink and purple, and contrast really well with the ever-going machinery. And the floral and lively green shrubs and foliage within Greenpath features some of my favorite nature levels in a video game. Speaking of Greenpath, the musical score of the game is fantastic and beautiful. A man named Christopher Larkin composed the score for Hollow Knight. The way he brings imagery and narrative to the game here seems almost effortless. My favorite tracks here include Greenpath, Reflection, City of Tears, Crystal Peak, and Fungal Waste. I definitely recommend you check out this soundtrack on his Bandcamp. The narrative within Hollow Knight is handled with subtlety and patience. Plot points are rarely just told to you in a straightforward fashion. There will be little things, like nuances in the dialogue, inscripted tablets, or the notes you get in the Hunter's Bestiary that give hints as to what's happened in the world of this game, but the most story that you are ever told outright is through the brief antagonist of the game, Hornet. Instead, Team Cherry relies on visuals and gameplay to communicate central themes and ideas to the player. Characters in the game also break up the otherwise solitary moments of the game, and most of them are impressionable. This includes characters like Cornifer, the Last Stag, and Bretta. My only real negative criticism against Hollow Knight is that some of the characters aren't so fleshed out and only really serve as flavor text. One character in particular, Cloth, wasn't very well written, in my opinion. Her character arc and plot conclusion was kind of predictable. But one criticism against this game that I didn't really get was the fact that a lot of the players out there pin Hollow Knight as a very tough game. I'd have to disagree with that assertion. I found the difficulty to be normal to above normal at times. The bosses in the game offer the most challenge at any given time here, and that just makes sense. I also see Hollow Knight get compared a lot to another game. I also have to disagree in that respect. That game is all about repetition and building up a character to face even tougher challenges. Meanwhile, Hollow Knight's focus here is more often put on exploration and quick and satisfying combat. And it is really pointing out that Hollow Knight is extremely accessible and extremely fun. There is a lot of detail and effort and passion put into this project, and you can definitely tell, just from a face value point of view. But as you dig deeper into the level designs and the setting designs, you'll see a lot more of a team that really understands how to craft a fantastic video game experience that is memorable from start to finish. Sure, I had a problem with the game, but I don't think it was a very big deal in the grand scheme of things. And I think that this game is well deserving of the score I'm going to give it. And that score is going to be a 10 out of 10. I thought this game did everything very, very well. Every single aspect, from the sound design, to the musical composition, to the visual design, to the visual literacy, everything and anything, I think it did pretty well. Even that little character caveat that I had can be ignored by another player who might play the game for a different reason. So I would definitely very much recommend that you play Hollow Knight. It is a fantastic Metroidvania that deserves your attention, and I can't wait for the sequel that comes out for this game in the near future. That concludes my review for Hollow Knight. If you like my reviews, you can like, comment, or subscribe. I also have social media links down in the description below, as well as a link to my Portfolum, where you can see video game works that I have done. And so, with that out of the way, please make sure to have a nice day.